Rogue FM killer, the Rep Aries killer, the free motion functional trainer having a baby with a power rack. Whatever you want to call it, today we're going to be taking a look at the Get RX'd Tornado Rack. I've used the Get RX'd Tornado Rack for almost every single exercise of every single workout for the last 2 months or so. So this is a pretty extensive, in-depth, definitive review here. And this is my new rack. So that should tell you right out of the gate how much I like this thing, but that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna have some very angry criticisms of some of the decisions that were made in this rack later on in the review. So stick around for that. And I did pay for this rack myself with my own money. However, they did give me a 25% discount since I was purchasing this originally for a review. So just wanted to throw that out there. And if you want to purchase this rack, consider checking out the affiliate link down in the description to help me pay for other very expensive reviews like this one, because I get a small commission and you pay the same price that you would have paid either way. And we're gonna start with the dimensions. One thing I like about this rack is for a 6-post rack, it is relatively compact, so you get the best of both worlds. And if we take a look at the full length, so if you have the tornado arm extended as far as it goes, and then you leave a little bit of space away from the wall, just enough so that you can use your plate storage, you're looking at 97 inches away from the wall, which is actually almost the exact same measurement as the Rogue FM rack without having this cable system on it. And I know there's the great debate over what's the right width for a rack, and you have Rogue that's at 49 width, and then you have Rep that's at 47 width, and then the Get RX rack comes right smack dab in the middle, and they're just gonna be different from everybody, and they're gonna say, no, the right width is 48 inches. And one thing I do like about that is the width and the depth of the main portion of the rack are the same. It's 48 depth as well. And so if you're not using your flip down spotters, you can store them across the top of the rack. So that was, I don't know if that was an intentional design decision or a happy coincidence, but either way, I like having somewhere to store those, because when I was using my Rogue Monster, I just had to lay those on the ground. Another important dimension is the internal height. I was going from the tallest Rogue Monster rack down to a 94-inch rack. So I was a little bit concerned with, am I still gonna be able to do overhead stuff inside of the rack? The internal height of the rack, so the height to the bottom of the top crossmember, is 86 inches, which for me at 6 foot, and then my gangly monkey arms with the wingspan of 6'3½", it's just tall enough that I can still do barbell overhead press inside of the rack and not hit. And then as far as ceiling clearance, you're gonna need 94 inches. That is the measurement to the highest point, which is the top of that front pulley. As I already mentioned, for a 6-post rack, this is a pretty compact rack. They only used as much space as they absolutely needed for this 6-post extension, so that you have room for your selectorized weights and your weight storage without getting in the way of your exercises if you're going off of the back uprights here. And I like that because not only does it take up less footprint in the room, but if I'm loading plates onto my barbell for bench press, because I like to do bench press off the back, I like to do squats off the front, and so I don't have to take a step at all. I just grab it and load it, and then if I'm squatting, as I mentioned, squatting off the front, I only have to take one step. So I take the plate, can load it on, take the plate off, load it back with only one step. And everything about this rack feels extremely high quality. The finish on everything feels good. The E-coat on the uprights feels really good. There's laser cut numbers all the way throughout on all uprights. The J-cup quality is really high quality. They have UHMW lined J-cups on all sides, as well as having it on the lip, because I know some companies, even premium companies, don't do that. So I like that they put that on there so that you're protecting your investment, because racks are not cheap. The only thing that I have a complaint about on the rack itself is this. That is some very thin metal, and it only hangs down from the top. There's 2 bolts coming down from the top, and so there is a little bit of wobble to it. Now, once it's on there, you're not gonna notice that a whole lot, but if you look at it closely, you can tell there's a little bit of a bow to this, and you can see where these thinner pieces of the metal do stick out just a hair. Again, doesn't affect functionality at all, but when you're talking about one of the premium rack options and everything else being so good as far as fit and finish, I wish they would have spent, you know, another couple of bucks to make the nameplate look a little better. Now let's talk about the fun part, the cable system and the tornado arms. Because of these tornado arms, you're basically getting a Cybex Bravo and a 6-post power rack for a fraction of the price of just the Cybex Bravo. You have dual 200-pound weight stacks, but since it is a 2-to-1 ratio, the felt weight is half of that. So you have stacks that go from 10 pounds up to 105 pounds with 5-pound increments times 2. This means it will be too light for stronger lifters if you're wanting to do seated rows or lat pull downs off of one side and one cable stack. But the good news is there's a couple of different ways that you can fix that. You can get one of their adder loader pins so that you can load one side heavier, or both if you really want to. Or you can use their connector plate and connect both sides together so that you can use both weight stacks, increasing your weight capacity up to 210 pounds, and again, still having the option to add weight with the adder pins. And speaking of the weight stacks, they clearly did not test every configuration of this rack, because you'll notice that I did not install the band pegs on the top of the stacks. As you can probably tell, this doesn't work. You can't put this on top of the weight stack because these back band pegs would be hitting your weights on the way up and you wouldn't be able to use your cable system. Now for me, this doesn't matter whatsoever because I literally have never a single time used bands added onto a cable exercise and don't really have any plans to start now. But if you are someone who does like to add band resistance to your cable work, then it's kind of a deal breaker. Now, let's talk more specifically about the star of the show here, the tornado arms. If you raise these all the way up to the top, you have a whopping 90 inches up to the highest point. If you lower it all the way to the ground, you are only 7 inches off the ground, so there's quite a bit of versatility with different exercises that you can do. And then, the coolest part of this is when you're letting these in and out, because normally, with most functional trainers, you would only have the width of your rack. And in this case, from center of post to center of post, this puts you at a 45-inch width. That's it. But because we have these tornado arms, we can come out here all the way to 79 inches, which is gonna feel amazing for exercises like cable crossovers and cable flies. And most people, when they're reviewing the tornado arms, that's the part that they're talking about that's so cool, is how wide you can get the arms, and rightfully so, because that is really cool. But one thing that's equally important in my mind is how narrow you can get them as well. If you bring them all the way in, they're only 10 inches apart, which is really cool for exercises like curls and tricep extensions, or if you want to do a narrow grip lat pull down. One small complaint that I do have about the Tornado arms is I wish that there was numbering so that you could more easily identify which hole you're putting it in without having to count. But not a huge deal. And another thing that's really great about these Tornado arms is the pulleys themselves. The pulleys are incredibly smooth in my opinion, and I would say definitely top 3 of home gym pulley systems that I've reviewed so far. More importantly, they're consistently smooth. It doesn't matter if you have on the lightest weight or if you're full stacking it plus adding the adder pins, it's a very smooth experience. And with some cable machines, they're a little bit grindy if you don't have a lot of weight on there, but then as you add more weight, they get a little bit smoother. Or it could be the opposite. It could be that they feel pretty good at light weights, but they start to feel like they're binding a little bit the more that you put on there. And so this, I can confirm, is a consistently smooth experience. And by the way, you may or may not have spotted these, but you'll see that I have a second pair of Tornado arms. So if you want to see what I plan to do with these, what experiments I have up my sleeve, make sure to subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss that video. Now, here's where the big complaint about the Tornado arms comes into play. These things are stinking heavy. They weigh 27 pounds a piece, and they're only using UHMW liners. There's no rollers to help distribute the weight more evenly, which means they're a little bit difficult to adjust. So maybe when you're writing your workout program, you consider adding this as one of your exercises, just lifting the Tornado arms up and down. Now, here's the part where I told my wife that she's gonna be put on the spot. So, babe, if you will trade places with me, I would like for you to lift this from the bottom to the top. Pop the pin and lift it up. How hard was that?
9 out of 10, too hard for what it should be.
I told her before that she was going to be on camera and she wanted to know why. I told her I couldn't let her know because it would ruin the surprise of the moment. Now, there is a little bit of a trick to it that makes it a lot easier to adjust. The main thing is you're just never going to be able to one-hand this. You have to offset the weight. Because of how heavy these arms are, it puts some torque. Because of how heavy the arms are and how far they stick out, it puts some torque on the slider, and you just need to relieve that uneven weight distribution to make it easier to raise up and down. So you can hold the arm itself, or you can push up on this little pin here, and then that makes it a lot easier to adjust. Because you see, if I try to do it like this, it's very heavy. But if I put my hand here, not so bad. And for anyone who's been lifting weights for a long time, you're not gonna have any problem with it. It's just more something to pay attention to. But if you do work out with your wife, like my wife behind the camera there, or if you have kids that you work out with, might be something to think about. Now, I have been told that they are working on some rollers to go on the back of this to help distribute the weight more easily. So it shouldn't be an issue in the future. And I also know, for those of you who already have the Tornado arms, there are third-party rollers that you can buy to go on here to solve the problem immediately. If you're enjoying the content, consider subscribing for more videos like this. And the other really cool thing about the Tornado Rack is the ecosystem. At the time of recording, there's about 20 attachments that you can get for this thing, of which I have several. Some of them, unfortunately, were up for pre-order, and I was hoping that they would come in before the review. They did not. So if you want me to do an updated review when those do come in, let me know that down in the comments. And in addition to there being so many attachments available for this system already, Get RX'd is releasing a pretty steady stream of attachments for this system. And because it is a standard 3x3 with 1-inch hardware, there's also tons of third-party attachments that you can get for this thing as well. This is where it gets a little bit confusing though, because some of the attachments are absolutely phenomenal, while other attachments honestly just feel like a complete afterthought that I wonder if they even tested before they put them out on the market. Fair warning, you're about to see me get pretty heated over some of these attachments, so we'll start with the good ones before it progressively goes downhill. I've already mentioned the J-cups, which are amazing. The sandwich J-cups are also amazing. And here's something that I want to talk about. J-cups aren't really anything fancy. I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but notice how tight the tolerances are. If you let it down really slowly, you can see that it even sticks. Now, I mean, if you slap it on there, it goes on there just fine, but that's how tight the tolerance is on these things. There's no wobble to this whatsoever. And put a pin in that because we're gonna come back to that. You'll also see that I have a couple of their double bar hangers here on the back, one over here, and then another one over here. I do have them on the back because it's the only place that you can put them. I had it on the side and then immediately realized, well crap, you can't put them on the side because it is also in the way of the weight storage. So that's the downside of it being such a compact space for the attachment, is you just don't really have a lot of room going on right here. But it works perfectly fine going off the back, so no big issue. And then we have the lap pull low row pad. This is a very intelligent design. So they have your lap pull pad, but then on the top of it, they put these little grills so that you can also use it for your low rows. Very simple, slots straight on, slap your pin in it, and you'll see that like most of their attachments, they have two different holes so that if you have a metric rack or a true 3-inch by 3-inch rack, you're covered either way. But you can see that just letting it down like this would be like it needs to be for your low rows, or you simply pop the pin, bring it up, and then you have it like that for your lat pull downs. Or another thing that's really cool is if you set this low down on the ground, you can let it down, hook your feet in, use it for sit-ups, or you can turn away from the rack with it set down low, and you can use it for Nordic curls. Or you can take it out, flip it upside down, and you can use it as a leg roller for Bulgarian split squats. So a lot of versatility and a really well done attachment. And then we have the chest supported row pad, another one that I like a lot. You can see it has this nifty little flip down design here. And here's the first place where I want to come back and talk about the tolerance issues. Again, very good tolerance, but if you look at the chest supported row, there's a lot of wobble there. And then when you go to put this pin in the back, it doesn't even really want to go in. You have to pick up just a little bit and slap it in. Now, once you do have the pin in there, it is really stable, and so I don't want to complain too much about that point. When you are using this attachment, I don't notice it moving on me whatsoever. And I love this attachment a lot, but it is weird that obviously they can get their tolerances perfect, but then on other attachments, you can literally see a bunch of daylight through that gap. And then we come over to something that is not an attachment. So I guess this is an apartment. Because it's apart from the rack. Yeah, okay. Tough crowd. So we have the military bench frame, which I love this for a few reasons. One, it's just a rector set. There's all sorts of different ways that you can attach all sorts of different things to this. And I like this personally better than their center post attachment. You're about to see me get pretty heated over this thing. I like this a lot better than the center post attachment because of the fact that it's not actually attached to the rack. You just roll it up and set it down, and I leave this part on here pretty much all the time. This is mainly what I use it for, is a lap pull down seat. And so I can just roll it over here, set it down, and I'm off to the races versus having to juggle attachments and all that other kind of good stuff. And the other good thing about it not being attached to the rack is the fact that you don't have to worry about moving attachments. If you have your lat pull seat on there and you want to lower it down, you have to take attachments off, lower it down, all that kind of mess. And by having it separate, it works pretty well. And I wish they would have made the legs on this just a little bit longer, because if you're using this for heavy lat pull downs, it will come off just a little bit. By making the legs just a little bit longer, that wouldn't be as bad of an issue, but there are detachable weight sleeves that you can purchase to attach to this to weight it down. And the other thing that I'm kind of mixed on is the handle that they sell to go on the bench frame. They made it as like a quick release type of thing to where you can move it, take it off, and get it out of the way. But you'll notice there's no way to actually secure this to the bench. And I get why they did it that way. Again, it's so that you can, all right, I've moved it where I want. I don't want it to be in the way of my feet, so boom. You know, you can slot it, you know, wherever you want and get it out of the way. But there should at least optionally be a way to secure this, because there have been a couple times that I have almost dropped this bench because I was like going over a rock or something on the ground, and then I had to maneuver it, and then I pulled sideways and almost pulled it completely out. I've never completely dropped it because you are supporting the weight of the bench, so it's not really, you can see there you go. It's not gonna easily come out, but it can come out. Keep that in mind. And speaking of the lat seat on the military bench frame, this is where we start to go downhill a little bit more. You'll notice I have a shim shoved in here, and I have to have a shim shoved in here because if not, coming back to that tolerance issue that's confusing to me, there is a lot of wiggle room in this thing. And that comes back to the, did they test this before they sent this out? And if they did test it, that's almost worse. I mean, call me a perfectionist, but I would go back to the drawing board and put some thicker UHMW in there if this were mine. The aforementioned pre-order attachments that have not arrived yet, one of them is a lat seat and a leg roller, which they're calling the Optimus Line. My suspicion is that once the Optimus Line is fully rolled out, that it's gonna act as a replacement for some of these older attachments. If not, why would you have two of the same thing? But they might just quietly be fading out some of these older attachments. And honestly, I hope they do, because their newer attachments are really good, like the lat pull low row attachment. Phenomenal. So if the new Optimus Line lat pull seat is of the same quality as this attachment, then you'll have no reason to buy this, just buy the Optimus. Here's the part where I start to get angry. You can probably already see why I hate this attachment this much. One of the reasons why I hate this attachment so much. Hold please. Maybe play some waiting music while I do this. Okay, so if you have it stored somewhere, you have to take the screws off, and then you have to slot it in where you want it. Then you have to screw it back on, and then another complaint, they just give you these rubber gaskets. Why would they not make a channel and then have a pre-installed rubber gasket. You have to keep up with this, which is gonna get lost. And then you have to screw it back on. And then you have to actually get it tight. So you have to tighten and tighten. And then to make sure it's really tight, you kind of have to hump it a little bit and keep tightening and keep tightening. And then boom, all of this time later, I have the center post on here. Also keep in mind that if you're using this for multiple exercises, you have to multiply that time times however many times that you're moving it. And there's not a whole lot of wiggle room on this vertical support here, so you can't really move your attachments all that much before you have to take this off and adjust it. And so if you ever don't get it quite right, you have to start all over and move the whole thing. Or if you're going from an exercise where you have to move it slightly, you have to take it off, do all of this all over again. So just a couple of the reasons why I already don't like this attachment. They couldn't have made a quick release like literally every single other attachment that they sell. This is the center post. You might not be able to tell it on camera. Maybe I'm a little OCD, but I immediately noticed it. It's not center. It's off to one side. It's only a 1/2 inch off. So I am being a little bit particular here, but you had one job. It's called the center post, not the almost center post. So again, nitpicky, but it's a whole bunch of stuff that adds up to me hating this thing. Now the other thing is, it's cantilevered off of one side. There's a decent amount of vertical support. There's almost no horizontal support whatsoever. And so if you are using this for low rows or any other exercise where you're pushing on this and causing it to flex from the side, you can see that I can make this thing move a pretty good bit, just not pushing on it that hard. So imagine if you have full stack, both sides, low rows, yes, it's that bad. There's a lot of flexion. Plus you add an attachment on top of that where you're coming even further out to the side, which means you can press even more from the side, and then you're really torquing this thing down. And also, I loosened it up just a little bit by wiggling it back and forth just now. It's not as bad with vertical pulling exercises, but it's still pretty bad. Every time I use this attachment, I ask myself, did they test this thing before they put it up for purchase? Now, to be fair, with a lot of exercises, it's not that noticeable. When you're using it for lighter exercises, it's not that noticeable. One thing that I like to use this thing for is to put the chest support pad on, lean back on it, and do standing incline cable curls. Or if you're doing exercises where you're putting all the weight pressing straight down, like chest supported cable rows with the cables at the bottom, there's a lot of exercises that you can do where it's not that noticeable. So it's not all gloom and doom with this attachment, but out of all the attachments that I have tried for this machine, this one is the worst. Hard pass on this one. If you want a way to be centered, I would definitely go with the military bench frame. The Tornado Rack is on the budget end of the spectrum for functional trainer power rack combo units. The half rack selectorized version starts at $2,900, and the configuration that I have here starts at $3,800. And of course the price will change depending on how many accessories and attachments you add. And it does sound crazy to call a $3,800 machine a budget machine, but when you're talking about this level of premium rack with the amount of features that you're getting here, it is actually thousands of dollars cheaper than some of the other options. So not only are you getting the really cool functionality of the Tornado arms and buying into this really cool ecosystem, you're coming in at significantly cheaper than most of the competition. As I said at the beginning of the video, this is my new rack and will be my rack for the foreseeable future. I don't have any immediate plans of changing this thing out. So that tells you how much I love this machine. And despite some of the very heated complaints that I had about a couple aspects of this machine, I do love it. Even despite some of those shortcomings, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, straight out, this is my new rack. This is the rack that I'm gonna be using for the foreseeable future. It might eventually get swapped out for something else, but I don't have any plans of that for a while. So that should tell you how much I love this thing and how strongly I can recommend it if you're in the market for a functional trainer power rack combo. Again, check out the link down in the description if you want to help out the channel by using that link to make your purchase. And as always, God bless you and your family, and we'll see you in the next one. There's something else I was going to say there.